Hey, hey, hey,
What's
hey.
up?
Had to get light here. I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I don't have light here, so like that's why I'm always, either like this or I got this little overhead lamp. That's what I'm working with. I'm
Oh.
like interrogating myself under a heat lamp, basically, constantly.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I have like it's just like the YouTuber thing. I have the ring light. So
Ah,
I got
see,
that.
I don't even know what a YouTuber thing. You're like you're exposing me to a whole new world. I've never known what a YouTube thing is, but now that I'm like watching everybody's making videos, I've had friends that made them before, but I was always in the opposite end. I'm like, oh, you do video, I do music, so I don't care.
I
But now I'm
know.
like, oh, I do both. So never mind. I'm actually about to start a YouTube channel myself. Um, trying to figure
Yeah.
like not a YouTube channel, but like a similar thing where I'm gonna take the artist point of view on the UBI and make sure that it's that
Yeah.
artists out there understand what we're doing. But also the whole servers for Yang thing. I was all about that.
Right. Oh my God, I love that idea. So I feel incomplete without like a hat or something. Probably look backwards in
Well,
the
yeah,
actual
I'm,
recording.
I'm still waiting for my hat. It's okay. We'll get there. I should because I have the big poster, so I'm assuming that. So I figured like when I'm gonna do that, if I don't have gear yet, I'm just gonna put the poster right behind me, make sure that it just says "Yang for President,"
Yeah,
and then
that works too.
maybe wrap myself in an American an American scarf like he did.
Oh my
I'll
God.
start I'll start every single podcast with "I am the son of immigrants."
Yeah. Technically, you are, right? I think.
Yes, no, I'm a zero generation American. So my brother's kids are the first generation Americans of our family. So we are citizens. I can vote and everything. Like I just can't become president because I
Yeah.
wasn't born here.
Got
Which
it.
is the first question that all my friends always ask me. Where's Yang from? I'm like, America, you idiot. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to run for president.
I know, it's such a shame, and it just shows like this is what Asian people deal with all the time. Like they don't think people don't think that they're actually American when they live here or they were born here. It's so
Oh
sad.
yeah, it's almost like you would be more afraid to ask a Hispanic like, oh, so what are you? It's like, well, I'm an American, because you'd be like, oh, that sounds racist. But then like you ask Asian people that all the time, and they're like, I've been here for 3 generations now.
Yep. I
Go
mean,
figure.
yeah, is that like, oh, okay, this person won't get offended, and it's like they probably are, but they won't tell you because they're trying to be nice. But whatever. Oh my God. So yeah. I mean, this is kind of like all of a sudden. Sorry, guys. Rob will not be here. I don't think because like where he is right now, it's like 12, like at midnight in Dublin. I think he's still in Dublin, but
I don't know. They need another 100. Looks like 15,000. They need another 115,000 right now. I gotta jump on Twitter as soon as we're
yeah,
done here, and make sure to be like, yay! Oh, I'm gonna donate another $10, and then make sure that somebody else does too. I
yeah.
got my bandmate to donate yesterday. He was I guess what happened was he accidentally donated to Julian Castro's campaign really, really early on. And I don't know
Oh,
how you accidentally do that, but maybe he just tried to donate to like Act Blue. And then and now the campaign won't stop texting him to his phone. And I
damn.
was like, oh, that doesn't sound very nice. I'm just like, well, Yang. I was like, oh, I get these awesome Yang emails, and they're actually kind of fun. And he's like, oh, I wouldn't care about emails. I'm like, oh, really? So like, you should donate $10 to Yang, because then he'll just send you emails. And he's like, fine, yeah, I will. I was like, okay, because he
Wow.
sends emails and not because I know like I follow Kamala Harris, and she always like Facebook messages me to give her money, and I'm
That
like, don't
automated.
don't Facebook message me.
Oh
Use
my
my email
God.
like every other spammer.
Yeah, a lot of people are jumping on that, like the Facebook Messenger bot system, which is like okay. I mean, like I don't like it, but I understand they're trying to like get the young vote, and just people in general. Like I know Gary Vaynerchuk, he does that too, but I don't mind his stuff because I like him. He's not trying to
Right.
money. My Oh my God! So what do you want to talk about? We said we would do like send each other bullet points, but I totally forgot. Like I was like I totally
Okay. See, I'll start. The first thing I'm going to roll out the artist program. I have 2 people in Cleveland that are gonna get me the emails. So the idea is find the artists that aren't monetized. Find the artists that don't, and they don't obviously, like, they're good musicians, but they don't have the time or the backing to break out. And basically, with Spotify and Tidal, I mean, it's just you had some of the top tier musicians sign up for this thing, and now they're running a pyramid scheme to where, like, everybody on the bottom gets a tiny sliver, as Yang likes to say. But it's run more like a pyramid scheme. So it's so it is a very tiny sliver, and nobody really. My monetization right now is like 17 cents a month. So I'm not feeding anybody with that. So but the idea is that.
What program is this again?
What?
What program is this again? Like,
this? Oh, so this is I'm going off of Spotify.
Oh, okay.
And so so I get myself on Spotify and I go through Level Music. So if anybody watching this is a musician, Level Music is really good. I got on their beta program and it was for free. And everybody that was my friend was like, "Oh, it's going to be a scam. It's going to be a scam." But here it is a year later and they just got off the beta and they're giving me another year free because I was there to test it out. And but the only reason I'm not getting monetized on Spotify is because I don't have the time to promote or I don't have the money to make an ad. I'm not affiliated with the Warped Tour or any kind of big music production thing. So I'm SOL. But so that's the idea, is like, just like the Yang Gang and the Andrew Yang campaign, it's fueled by individual donors, less than $26 per donation. And we can't fight mass media, but if we get a whole bunch of people to trample over it, we will. And so that's the idea behind this music thing too. Like, I want to find those artists that are really good, that have a really good message. They're either already political or they just have, they're I guess, like, conscious musicians is what they call them now, or aware. So they talk about the world and what it's like. But the people that have like 20 to 200 likes on Facebook or Bandcamp or whatever, and it's hard to break out. It really is. And the idea is, let's get together. Let's collectively, everyone subscribe to each other. So every individual person go and subscribe. Like, so that's 4 band. Let's say a band consists of about 4 members on average. You have some that have 2, you have some that have 6, but let's just scale it 3 or 4. So that's 3 or 4 subscribers that are subscribing to your band, just from every band. And if you get like 50 bands behind this, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people just subscribing to you, and it's, to you. And then you start seeing your monetization go from 17 cents to like $17, maybe even $100 a month. And $100 a month, that's pretty good. That's making sure that I eat a month, and then it doesn't pay my bills yet, but it is making sure that I'm eating off of my music. Maybe I can take maybe I can cut 10 hours a week out of my paycheck if I'm getting $10 an hour. That sounds about right. And then so the idea is just to basically become our own music corporation, but we're not tied to anything but Yang. And really, we're not even tied to Yang. The idea is like, hey, if you want to do this, just just give 10% of your stuff to Andrew. And when you think about it, like 10% of your is not that much, considering you weren't making anything before. And the other great thing is the artists that will sign up for this, it's gonna be like a fake VAT tax, like a VAT tax trial program. Who's going to be interested in doing this? And I think musicians are going to be interested in paying 10% of their revenue, as long as they're making money because of what they're doing. So that's going to be the big program. And then the other thing is I wanna find Iowa musicians. So if you're a musician in Iowa, let us know, because that's if we take Iowa with music, if we take Iowa with art, with anything, if you're a writer, if you're a writer, some of the best writers in the world, whether it was Tolstoy or even Edgar Allan Poe before he went crazy, or Wilkie Collins, they were all columnists. They all wrote for a paper. They all had something, and so just start fighting back. And that's like our resistance is if you have skill in writing, they will notice it, and you can be sly enough to where you don't have to just be like an attack ad. You can just work your magic with your words, just like the rest of us can work our magic with our music or with our podcasts.
For real.
So yeah, that's the big rollout here.
Oh my God. Yeah. This is so interesting. I had shared this video on Twitter, and it may be controversial, but I don't really think so. When you actually see it, it's actually pretty good. So you're still new to YouTube, but there's a small channel that they mainly do Andrew Yang stuff, but they also love Bitcoin and all this other stuff. But they're called Linsight, Lynsi. Linsight, and they're really awesome. Like, I've been in contact with them for the longest time. They only have like 700 subscribers, but these guys are really intelligent. And they made a video about literally the title is like, okay, how Andrew Yang can print money and it won't cause inflation. Proof. I'm just like, oh, okay. So I looked at it. Of course, I was like going in like, interesting, because like, of course, when you grow up, this has been taught to you, okay, like, if you print money, or just like when we look back in like history, when you print money, that's probably not the best idea for a government to do. But and like, for real, I'm gonna link the video in the description, the YouTube. But basically, we already do print a lot of money, and apparently, like, is because like there's so many. Essentially, because the number of people are growing, and the number of like value, like that is our economy generating, we have to print money a lot, like hundreds of billions every year to keep up with the value that we have. But if you do it in a certain, like, you can print like a bit more money than you should, but at least this is under a certain amount, then like you won't cause inflation. So I'm like, huh. And this guy's like, yeah, like, he said the same. He's like a hardcore Andrew Yang fan, but he did say that, the VAT tax is essentially regressive, and you've heard that before, and like, make sure your eyes roll. But like, he explained it in the way where like I do understand, like, okay, like maybe, it is going to be extremely hard for Yang to like get another a tax to get passed in Congress or whatever. Again, like, that's just like I still want to do like our thing, like because Yang probably will do the VAT tax, or at least try to get that passed. But as one point, like, just share to you guys, if he does start printing money, don't freak out. Like, he's actually hinted this, and some of the stuff that he said, like, he was talking about how, like, we bailed out the banks by printing money, and that didn't cause inflation because they printed a certain amount of money that just didn't cause inflation. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So he hasn't really, that's one thing that, like, I have to say, because I just like tweeted it out, and I don't want to be like, people are like, wait a minute, Alyssa, like.
No, that sounds great. But and that's the funny thing is about the VAT tax and why we'll get so. Everybody's talking about breaking up tech companies like Facebook and Google and Twitter or whatever. Like, everybody's like, they're too big, they're too big, they're too big. So that's like some of the misconception is the VAT tax is going to be tailored to those companies, and not only is it going to be tailored to those companies, it's also going to be tailored to business transactions. And it's basically, as soon as you get over a certain amount of transactions, then the VAT tax goes into place. And that's how I've heard him describe this. And the other thing is, like, yes, luxury goods are still going to, like, if you're going to buy a $200 million boat that you obviously don't need, we're going to tax a little bit of that because, one, you can afford it, and two, that's not a necessity of life. So the idea is that there are people out there who are working and who are they're not just working on creating these things. There's also resources going to creating these things. We could be creating, instead of $200 million yachts, we could be making affordable housing somewhere, so that when the homeless people get their $1,000 dividend, they don't have to go into places that aren't rent controlled or anything like that. They can actually just go into an affordable housing place. But if we're going to continue to make $200 yachts, or if we're going to continue to try and go to Mars, which I'm an astronomer, I love science, I'm for Elon Musk. I hate Bezos because I'm not for Bezos. I was kind of excited when he started a space program, but either way, I am for space, and I'm for privatization of space even. But that doesn't mean that it's not a bad idea that we tax it, because that is still, it's resources going not to the people. And even though there's definitely there's a good case for space, and Andrew says the same thing, that we get so much benefit from NASA. That's why we have the microwave. That's why we have clean water. That's why almost every technological advancement that we got was because we had to push the boundaries of what we could do in space, including agriculture. Satellite imagery lets us everything. So it's a good reason for it, but it doesn't mean, and that's why it's awesome that it's getting privatized. Because if it was just NASA, then we'd be taxing ourselves because we're the taxpayers and we're the ones going to space. But since it's SpaceX and Arianespace and Blue Origin, and there's so many private space companies coming out that I can just spend an entire podcast talking about that, like how much money the VAT tax would pull in from all the private space industries. And again, it's not like you're not even taking the money from the private space industries at that point and hurting them. You're just saying, like, we got it so good right now that we have reusable rockets. So Elon Musk just dropped the cost of space by a factor of 10, which is huge, like huge. We didn't think we could do this. Space shuttles weren't so cheap. Space shuttles were extremely expensive. And so, but since we do that, and that the lowering of that price was passed on to the consumer, but the consumer is usually some kind of media company who's, like AT&T or Verizon or Fox or MSNBC. And now you're understanding, like, oh, well, yeah, let's tax those people. Like, screw Rupert Murdoch. I don't care about him. I think he doesn't pay enough taxes anyway. So in the end, like, the only people that are truly getting taxed are the ones that are, yes, they are trying to do things that perhaps better the world, but at first all they're doing is putting up satellites and more space junk. So we're just basically having a space junk tax. It makes it more difficult for us to view the stars. So, hey, like, make sure that you give us a little bit of money so we don't complain as much. And so even though, like, the VAT tax does go from, like, all of these other things, but eventually, because these other industries are popping up and space is only going to keep growing, and once we start mining asteroids, that's going to be its own thing. Like, ExxonMobil is no longer, they're no longer, they're no longer going to be mining down here because it'll be illegal or whatever. They're going to be mining in space because we don't care anymore. And great, like, let's continue to tax Exxon. Let's continue to tax BP, because in the end, like, I don't really want them screwing up our solar system either. I don't know what the repercussions are going to be if we start doing that. So might as well slow down that progress a little bit. The VAT taxes gets really confusing when people don't understand it, because they just think it's another sales tax, but it's not. It's a tax on things that we don't need. It's a tax on luxury items and data and things that aren't even really tangible for the average person. And for the average person, it means that food prices and housing prices are actually going to go down because the competition is going to be a lot healthier there, and it's going to be based around what we need. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, but
no, it's fine.
I want to steal the VAT tax.
Like I said, like, I just got, this is the only video or perspective that I've really seen that to like counter argue the VAT. I thought it was interesting. And I still think that that could work. I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, even though, like, I listened to Scott Sanson's, like, podcast of him explaining the VAT and welfare and how it's not, even though it is technically regressive, like, it's going to be progressive, like you said, like, because it's not taxing things that we need. We taxing things that we technically do not need. Which way?
Well, and then, like you said, it's going to put money, like once it's in our hands, that's the other argument for it. Once the money is in our hands, we're going to put the money right back into the system, and then we're just going to get the money right back. So like that, technically we're only getting $1,000 ever. And then we just keep getting that $1,000 back. So you're not really getting more than $1,000 at all. It's not even $12,000 a year. It's more like you're just getting $1,000 and then you just recycle the money. And I think that's the other part of it is like you said, it's regressive, but eventually it'll be progressive because we are only benefiting the businesses and the communities that are in our area. Because I mean, I think the reason why we spend so much money on Amazon and everything else is because
we need to.
Well, yeah, we need to, and it's cheaper because we don't have malls, we don't have things like that to go and hang out in, and it kind of forced us to then like, all right, we're just gonna get stuff off Amazon. But when we have a little bit of extra cash to spend, and we're just gonna go and start supporting businesses again. You might even see like the comeback of a mall is just gonna be something different. Actually, I mean, it's kind of like the next time it's at one of the things I really want to talk about is like, what can we do to bring back the malls? Or because really what a mall was a place to hang out. It was a meeting spot for everyone to, like, we don't have any money. What do you want to go do? Let's go hang out at the mall and look at all the stuff that we can't buy.
Yeah.
And we need that again, because if we don't have that, then we stay inside and we get depressed and we start doing drugs and our mental health declines, and then suicide is on the rise, and then people just get stuck on 4chan and 8chan, and that's not going to lead to anything good. It's kind of like, and then somebody was telling, we were discussing this earlier, how like everybody says this idea of actually it was David, it was the soldier side chats. So he was saying how like the conservatives have this idea that like jobs and work, and if we don't jobs and work, then we don't have self-worth, and that human beings come from this Puritan line of we are hard workers and all that stuff. But when you think about it, nobody likes this word, but when you think about it scientifically or just rationally, we come from a nomadic, tribal, and social society. We as human beings are nomadic and tribal and social. And that's what we are. And so when we became workers, we actually lost a piece of our humanity. Yeah. And what's funny is like the word robot.
Chills, Jesus.
The word robot comes from the Russian word rabotnik, which is Robotnik, like Sonic's, like Dr. Robotnik, Sonic's
Egghead,
nemesis.
Yeah.
Yep, like Egghead. And the word Robotnik means worker. So the word robot stems from the Russian word for worker, and we are not robots. That is not us. We are a moving social and like trial and error and fail and fail and fail until we succeed, and we're curious, and we need to get back to that. And that's another part of the reason why the dividend works is we become more like that. We become more of a society that decides, like, we have this traveling fund that's always going to be with us no matter where we are. And that allows us to just go, and if something doesn't work out where we are, we can just move on. If we don't like the city we're at and we feel like we're stuck, we can just move on. If the state, just doesn't seem to be legalizing marijuana and you really want to smoke it, you can move on.
Yeah.
And you can again find your niche, and people can start finding their tribes. But instead of, like we have like this tribe in California who are like the kind of like the progressives who are all about crystals. And then we have this tribe in Alabama who we just kind of don't talk about them because we don't talk about them. I mean, you look at their state flag and it's like, oh man, we don't talk about them. But instead of having this like tribalism based on what kind of job I can get and who's going to allow me to work at that place, we're just going to have tribalism based on like, how do we feel? Like, are we more religious or not? And then we can make religion better instead of having religion be something that like, oh, you're not religious, so you're a bad person, and so on and so forth. We can just be like, no, we're religious folk, and we're just going to hang out with each other. And we don't need to be afraid or worry or anxiety because we have money coming to us every single week, every single month, and we can invest in what we want to invest instead of breaking our backs, not having enough, and then not having enough to invest later on. It's like we can't even invest in ourselves. That like it lowers our self-worth. It lowers who we are. We don't even see each other as human beings anymore. It's like it's the first question anybody asks you when you start hanging out with them, right? It's like, so what do you do?
Yeah.
Where do you work? And it's like,
Annoying.
man, I hate when people ask me that. It's one of my, like, I know, like, it makes it sound like work defines you. And I mean, like, when people ask us what we do, like, you can say, like, I'm a YouTuber, and I can say I'm a musician, but not everybody has that.
I know, right? Yeah, it's oh my God. Like you said, I mean, our brains are meant to be social. That's why technology gives us so much anxiety. That's why when people get like a negative comment or a hate comment on like Twitter or like Reddit or something, it really like stresses out your brain because like you don't see that person, you don't understand like the context, like you don't hear like their voice. So like that whole like person to person thing or the that part of being social is kind of cut off. So now your brain's like, wait a minute, what's this person mean? How does this person think about me? Like you start freaking out. That's why a lot of people like it's super. That's why cyberbullying became such a thing because it's like, damn, like, am I actually like a fuck face, whatever, or, anything. But yeah, and yeah, like you said, I think that I know that if people got like a stable income, they would definitely not shop at like Walmart or like Amazon as much. When we went on this road trip, I mean, we talked to somebody in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and that's one of the things that he said to us. He's like, yeah, I would go to like maybe not Cedar Rapids, but I know in Delaware, like people go to like to Amish markets and stuff. That's like a really popular thing people do to get fresh food and like to get healthy food. People would rather have that than like processed food. Food was so like we're addicted to salt and sugar. Like that needs to end as soon as possible. All of these things like people, it's so funny. Like people are, like you said, we really are becoming to be trained to not see other people as human. That was said really poorly, but because we don't see people as human as they really are, then we just see this as like efficiency machines, and I think it's harder to trust that a person, like a homeless person would treat a freedom dividend respectfully, because people are like, oh, they're gonna stay homeless and like continue to use drugs if they are using drugs, and they're gonna stay in that place, and that's just not true. Like I just like, to me it's stupid, because like if I were homeless, I would be like, oh, this is like an opportunity for me to get out of the situation. So, yeah.
Well, and the other part of that is let's say you give them that money, and like there's going to be a percentage of them that this is their lifestyle. Like I've seen it. They are. That's why they don't even when you go to that community and you talk about their culture, they don't like being called homeless because it sounds like that they don't have something that they should have. They like to be called street people because that's what they are, and that's closer to what they see themselves as. Because some of them some of them fell in bad times, and then because they fell in bad times, mental issues became a thing, and now they're trying to dig themselves out of this hole. And yeah, there's a big population of that are going to take that and take that dividend and just run with it, and they're probably going to be some of the most successful people in the world. Like you'll notice that like when you go on the streets and you learn how to hustle, man, when somebody finally gives you a chance, you are gonna hustle. You are going to like grind it out, and you're gonna become the next Jeff Bezos, and we're gonna have to figure out how to stop you at that point. But there's gonna be a population of people who are going to stay what they are, and there's nothing. I think that's part of it. Is there's nothing wrong with that, because at least in that society, you're gonna have less panhandlers, and instead of again, it goes back to how do we treat people when they ask us for money on the street? We have two answers usually, unless it's yes, like here's some money, and like that's one answer. But we have two no answers. One is like, sorry, I don't have any cash on me. whether you do or not. And the other one is, why don't you get a job? And, that's harsh. And even then, like, when the people that say, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash, you're still just like, I don't know if you're just going to go and buy drugs with this money, or if you're actually going to go buy food. And and then, like, you yourself feel like, oh, but maybe I should have given that person money. And then when they have the freedom dividend, it's not going to be a question. Like, you're just kind of, your first question is going to be, why are you not getting the freedom dividend? Are you having a tough time getting your money? Can we do anything to help you? That's going to be our first response. And, because there's not going to be like, get a job. You're just going to be like, what's preventing you from getting a freedom dividend? And if the answer is going to be like, well, nothing, I do get it. And then you can just be like, well, sorry, I can't, at that point you feel you kind of, you've done it. You've whether through VAT tax or whatever what it is that's going to make the freedom dividend happen. That we as a society decided to already do something, and we have donated our money to make sure that everyone has something. So you that guilt goes away. And I also think like that the panhandling idea is going to go away. But then the other side of that is, the negative side of, or the dark side of panhandling is that some people are stuck in situations where they are panhandling for other people, whether it's, drug dealers or human trafficking or sex slavery, like whatever you want to call it. They're in a situation where, somebody's forcing them to do that. So then that somebody else is going to provide for them what they need. Well, those people are going to be a lot less. Like it's like those homeless people that you see get dropped off sometimes. But that situation is going to decrease, because if those people have a freedom dividend, universal basic income, they're not going to rely on the people who have them trapped because of their addiction, or because of their, because of, I guess, like the cards that life dealt them. The UBI is going to be their way out of that, I guess, like Andrew says it, like abusive relationship, whether it's on the street or in your workplace, it's abusive regardless.
Yeah.
And so you're just going to see less and less of it. And we're going to treat those people differently. And so, and even the people that are going to still just do the drugs, you're just going to be like, well, they probably are going to find their own culture somewhere. I mean, right now, or like a few years ago, it was in Eugene, Oregon. Eugene, Oregon was like the drug capital of America. And that's where people went to hang out, and that's where they banded together, and they created their own communities, and they didn't really bother people. Everybody just kind of knew that that's where it was, and it was a bit of a stigma to it, but it's, they made their own community. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the whole point, is stop having a prejudice on people's lifestyles. Let people's tribalism be a positive thing in their life and not a negative thing. Because right now our tribalism leads us to echo chambers where we don't listen to each other, and then you just get a lot of garbage thrown your way, and then you separate from the rest of the world, and like as soon as somebody liberal comes up to you and you're a conservative, you're like, I'm not even going to listen to you, and vice versa. But if we're tribal in a way where we're communicating with each other interpersonally, not just online, and you actually see that tribalism out in the world, then you're going to be more okay with it. You're just going to be like, oh yeah, those people are over there doing their thing, and that's cool, because I'm over here doing my thing, and that's cool, because I'm getting a freedom dividend. I'm not worried about whether I'm going to pay my bill next month or not. So it's like this whole mentality shift that we're going to have on how we treat each other and how we treat people that are different than us.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, I think it's interesting. There's this show on Netflix called Russian Doll. Have you seen it before?
Yep.
Dude, that when you said what you said, like, it reminded me of like the end. I'm not gonna spoil anything for you guys, because you really should see it. I rewatched it like twice already. Like the end of the, like, of them having fun. Like, that was like, oh my God, these people are so happy, and I want to be a part of this party. Yeah. It's so true.
I just got chills. Like, you just brought me back to the show, and I got chills at the end of that show, and
I know.
I chills again, because I didn't even make that connection, but you're so right.
Oh my God, guys. Yeah, I mean, like you're right, like certain people will not choose to not be a part of modern society, and that makes sense because like I said, like it really is stressful being in the modern world. Like it is, I can like our like this is like really real, like our human brains have not evolved to really handle all of the stimuli. So I understand if you want to just like distance yourself from it. Like honestly, like if I could choose, I would probably be in a cabin in the woods somewhere. Like it's just like being like a cashier. I work if you guys don't know, I work at a retail store called Hallmark. It's a card store, and being there, like at first it was fun and everything like that, but like now I've been there for like about 2 years now, but now I just get so much freaking anxiety because like you said, like I feel like I'm kind of treated as like a robot, just ringing up people or putting away stuff, and like it is the better of the retail stores because like the customer service are pretty nice and everything like that, but it is like I just feel like oh my god, like not to make anybody upset, like to make sure I always have a smile on my face, like it gets really stressful all the time. So I can't wait to like quit that job finally. But I totally understand why like a homeless person would, or a street person would not want to be a part of that because it's not fun. Hopefully the freedom, fighting for the freedom dividend for them too, of course.
Well, that's the other interesting point is that even part of the reason why they don't want to be in a society, because like what's the part of the reason why they don't want to be in a society is because what's the point of having a society? The point of having a society is that we're all working to make it easier on each other. But when the society isn't taking care of you,
Yep.
then you have no reason to be in a society. And especially since like these are the conversations that we don't have still, and they're important. Like we as a society have been systematically keeping people down, whether it's because of their skin color or because of where they came from or because of their last names or because of how they look or because they're circumcised or not. We systematically keep people down through media, but also through our laws and also through our hiring processes. I mean, it's there, and we need to. I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to polarize anybody, because I know that the good people exist in every part of the world. Even in crime, good people exist. So even in the things that you're supposed to be good at, bad people exist. But that's based on the individual. But we've had laws on the books that have restricted people from doing what they need or kept people in places where they just can't rise away from it. Kind of like the idea of welfare, where as soon as you're making too much, we're going to cut your food stamps. And it's like, well, I'm only making like $20 or $30 more a week. Why are you cutting my food stamps? That's like, I thought I was about to break out, maybe have like a little bit extra for my kids for Christmas or birthdays, but I don't. Now I have to spend that extra money on food. Well, that's not really help. That's more just keeping me in the situation that I'm supposed to be kept at by the standards that somebody else created. But then when you get the freedom dividend involved, you're going to have more people that are going to want to involve themselves into society.
Oh, for sure.
I myself packed when I was 20 years old, I threw on my warm robe and I packed everything up in my backpack, and I was going to walk away from it all because I had realized that why am I paying taxes for something that doesn't even benefit, like forget it benefiting me. It doesn't even benefit like my brothers and sisters. It doesn't benefit my family. It doesn't benefit my friends. It doesn't benefit my grandmother. It doesn't benefit the kids that are in school. It doesn't benefit anybody. What's the point? And I almost walked away, and I was 5 miles away from home. I was in a I was like in a municipality that I've never been in, and I just kept walking. And
oh my god.
friend, yeah. And my friend ended up calling me at the right time. She was my best friend at the time, and she called me up and asked me what was going on. She didn't know. She was just like, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't like lying to people." So I just told her what I was, and she was my best friend. So like, yeah, I'm gonna tell the truth. She wasn't even in Cleveland at the time, so it didn't really matter. Like nobody's gonna bring me Back or nothing. I've already made up my mind. But she talked to me and she talked me out of it. and I don't really remember even how. She just kind of said that, like, hey, like, you, like, she told me, she's like, you didn't go to college, you're doing this music thing, you decided to drop out of college to do the music thing, and you're finding everything out on your own, and you decided to do it the hard way. Like, you are doing it a way that most people would never choose to do it in. Most people would rather just get a dead-end job and hate themselves for the rest of their life with a girlfriend or boyfriend that they don't even like, just so they can have kids. But you know, and that brought me back. But I was that close to not coming back. And they're gonna be other people that are gonna decide to come back too. Once they realize that there's a reason, there's like, you know, once they realize that like society is gonna be there for them, or it's gonna be there for their friends, it's gonna be there for their family. They're gonna want to be a part of it. And those that won't, like, we're not gonna look down at them for it, because they're gonna make their own society. They're gonna use the dividend to create the community that they want to create. And the rest of us are going to create the communities that we're going to want to create. And that's the beauty of it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, like, when I was a senior in high school, I know, right? Thank you for sharing that. Because when I was a senior in high school, like, I had the similar thought of, yeah, just running away. And like my friend, like, he also had the same like inclination. Like, he's a year younger than me. But when he got into he's still in college, but when his first semester in college, like, he was like, I just can't handle this. Like, I literally feel like I'm freaking out. And he, like, doing, like, you know, he works at Chipotle, like, you know, part-time, like, and doing school full-time. And he's like, what is even the point? Like, he wants to be a lawyer, but still, he's like, I can't do this. And I'm like, I understand. Like, the only thing that kept me not from running away is, like, my parents. They're like, okay, we're gonna, like, you can live with us for, you can live with my mom. Like, my parents are divorced. They've been divorced since I was like 8 years old. But like, listen, like, you can, like, live with me. Like, I'll help you out. You just have to get some sort of a job so I can see that you're trying. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll get a fucking job if you want me to, but I'm gonna do this YouTube stuff on the side. And it's going to work. She actually believed in me. She's like, okay, I believe in you. I drive her crazy all the time, but she still does believe in me, because it is, like, I am improving. Like, I do get donations, like, every month, because people like my like ASMR channel or whatever, and, like, they, you know, people believe in me. So, I mean, I guess we both got lucky that, again, like, it's people. That's what keeps this whole shit together, is people caring for other people. And even one person matters. So that's why I don't look down on anybody. Yeah. Everybody can matter to somebody. Yeah. Woo,
I don't see, like, that's what pulls people back to society. Like, having that one person that decided to care. And, you know, when it's the entire population that decides to care, we can take care of so many more people, you know. And then like, yeah, please come and immigrate to this country, because we're like, you are going to contribute to taking care of us, and we're going to contribute to taking care of you. And because, like, when you're working and you're working on your path to becoming a citizen, and you're not getting your dividend, what are you doing? You are actually contributing to my dividend. With everything that you do as a non-citizen, you are helping me out. And so then, like, when you become a citizen, I'm going to welcome you with open arms. I'm going to be like, welcome, come enjoy this. Isn't this great? Like, this is like, thank you so much for struggling for the American citizen and for the American dream for that 1 or 2 years, or 5 years sometimes, because immigration can be
well, Andrew wants it to be like 18 years, which is understandable. I think that's what he said. So it's gonna be at least like it may take a long time, people.
Yeah, well, no, well, I wasn't talking about illegal immigration, but I'm talking about legal immigration. Like, even when you're a legal immigrant. So when you're coming here legally, it takes, like, I think for my parents, it took us 7 years to become citizens, which isn't bad. But and like, if we would have had a UBI in place, that would have been 7 years that my mother and father, my grandmother and my grandfather, and my uncle and my aunt would have been contributing to the freedom dividend without getting anything in return. But, you know, in the end, like, that would have been fine. Like, they would, you know, we wouldn't care, because we fled a country that that we had to leave for whatever reason. That I'm not going to get into.
I know, right? But
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. I really do appreciate like Andrew Yang's perspective on immigration. He's so right. I mean, like literally, immigrants like are one of the most hardworking people. Like literally, if you're born in America, you're most likely like, and I'm like this a lot. Like you're most likely probably what you call it? Not like it's like when you have a lot, but like you may take advantage of it. Damn it! It starts with a P. I think.
I think what you're looking for is like you're jaded on the America. You're just like you're jaded on American ideals. You like for my parents to move here, we were like, oh man, we have freedom of speech now. We're not worried that the government's going to take our money anymore. We're not worried that somebody's going to come to our house, take all of our stuff, throw us out in the streets, and then we have nothing. Like we don't have that worry.
I think you say it like privileged. That's what the word I think I was looking for. But yeah, very
privileged. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It's it's the mentality, like, because you have it and you did. Yeah. I can see it.
Yeah, for the macro, a lot of people are. I feel like there's another word to say it, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Words.
Privileged, jaded, one of those words, somewhere in between the two.
By the way, like I am learning Korean. I've been learning Korean for like 3 years now, and like hands down, like I now see how hard like English is. I'm really lucky to like be born in this language because like I can't even imagine learning this crazy language that has like basically no rules at all. It's like so stupid.
Have you heard of the old the GHOTTI, and that spells fish?
Wait,
because
I've heard this before.
because like in the word enough, the GH creates an F sound.
Oh my god.
And then then O is sometimes pronounced as I in certain of our words, and then the TI is pronounced as sh. So GHOTI spells fish, and even though it's body. I know it's like one of the it's what we learned when I was studying German in America, like as a second language or as a third, I guess, for me. But yeah, it's like they put that up on the board, and that's when I realized like, wow, this language is absolutely ridiculous, and I had to learn it coming here, and I hated it. I was learning it in Belarus. That was like in second grade. We were learning English and whatever, and I skipped classes. I skipped classes in second grade because I hated learning English that much. I pretended to go to a piano recital a couple of times, and I can't believe they let me out. Like, that's how lenient schools are over there, I guess. But I pretended that I had a piano recital, and I just walked out of class. I walked out of school as an 8-year-old and just wandered the streets just so I can not go to this ridiculously difficult and no sense making language that English is. Because the beautiful thing about the Belarusian language, which is different from the Russian language, is in Belarus, the way it sounds is the way it's spelled. And so the way it's spelled is the way it sounds. And almost like it's a phonetic language. And so then
that's exactly like
trying to learn a language like English, like, no, I don't like it. But that's awesome that you're learning Korean.
I love it. Like I genuinely love it. Like I hated that like in school, like you only have the option, at least we're in Delaware, you only have the option of, well, not there's some like private schools like you can learn Chinese and stuff, but mainly it's like either French or Spanish, and that's it. I'm like, I don't really like either. I'm sorry. But of course, like big into K-pop and all that stuff. Mainly K-pop. I haven't even seen like one K-drama because like I know I'm gonna be so obsessed with them. Like I don't even want to get myself into that mess. I'm just gonna stay into literally like everybody tells me like you have to watch them. I'm like, no, I'm not. I can't. I don't have enough time, literally. But
wait till you get the freedom dividend, then you can start watching it.
Hey, we can watch parties.
Then we can do what we want.
Exactly. We can have watch parties and stuff. No, I used to like literally I used to do that. That's why like that's the actual reason why my channel got popular, because I was watching a gay Asian web series on YouTube and I was recording myself reacting to them. I did reaction videos. And because that was such a niche like audience, like people from like China and like Taiwan, Thailand, like a lot of like Thailand gay stuff happens there. So it's like a lot of people from there were like, I love you, your personality and stuff, like, and it grew like a lot. And I was like kind of overwhelmed, like, holy shit, I didn't expect all this, but thank you. Because I just love gay. I like just love gay people so much, and I actually write my own like kind of. A lot of the girls do that. Like, don't be ashamed, girls. I know you guys like it too. Yeah, like I would definitely just spend my time. Like if I had the time to do it, I would just watch that stuff with people and have a good time.
Oh, and you're giving, and like and some people might say like, oh, well, she's just gonna get the freedoms of it, and then she's just gonna watch YouTube. It's like, no. Because listen to what you just said. There was a niche audience for what you were watching, and not only were you giving them content to watch, but also the way you sit there and you're like, I love gay people. Like I absolutely love the culture. I love what they do, and it comes from a positive place. It gives people a chance to express themselves in a way where they're like, oh, people want this. People, you're actually doing a service in that sense, to where, because in a lot of these other places, and especially like when you talk about places like Russia or China, where it's if you're gay, you might go to jail, you might just be killed, and and so when you do things like that, when you find your niche audience and when you create content for them, that is important. That allows people to be okay with who they are. I mean, if we didn't have, like, I always make the case for RuPaul. That's one of my favorite people. Like, if RuPaul didn't do, if there wasn't a show about it, if it wasn't destigmatized as it was, people wouldn't come out as much. The trans community or the trans, it just wouldn't. It wouldn't be what it is, and it would be more underground still. And of course, like, there would be a grassroots movement to get it going, but it's important that we don't shame anything. We make sure that everything gets its own spotlight. Like, why do we get so angry when they don't let Yang speak? Because we're like, hey, why are you stifling this point of view? 160,000 people in this country decided to donate their money. We listen to this guy. And that is
By the way, I hate to cut you off, but like, are you covering your mic or something? Because I can barely hear you. There you go. Wait, do a trial test 1 2 1 2 or something.
Yes. So as I was saying, 160,000 people decided that they wanted to hear this man speak on these issues, which is more than half the people, that are up there. And when you think about individual donors, like, and not getting money from billionaires, then yeah, like that voice should have probably been carried more than Biden's even, because this is a new voice that people, like, we've heard Biden speak, we've heard all these other people, like their senator, they fundraise. This is somebody that the people have decided to champion themselves and put on stage, and you're like literally stifling the voice of the people. And it's the same thing here. So like, yes, maybe you'll quit your job to just watch YouTube, but that's not what it's about. It's about giving people a chance to express themselves, be who they are, and connect in a community. And it's that tribalism, but the positive tribalism where you support each other. You don't like talk crap about it. It's not like, oh, we're tribal because we like talking crap about those people. No, like, we're tribal because we love what we do.
Yeah, and that would cut down people getting, because it's way easier to be a negative than it's positive. It just is. Like, I can that's with people that that are quote unquote haters. It's just easier. But, it would be less. It would, if you had the freedom right now, economic freedom is how you actually get freaking freedom. So if you had the freedom to choose, okay, would I be in a group where like we would help each other and like, pick each other up when we're down and stuff like that, rather than like, the other or the alternative, you would choose the first choice, I think. And so let's try it. Like, I just want, like, just give the shit a chance. Like, I hate people that are like, okay, it's not happen. No, I refuse. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you guys are stupid. Like, are we not people anymore? Do we just like give up all that? Like, no, like the human race, like I honestly think like the human race, like technically we shouldn't even be here. Like we're here because of people that decided to like take a chance and take a risk on like whether it be exploration, whether it be intelligence, like they decided to go outside of the box. That's the only reason why we're here. And to say that like, we should like just continue with the status quo is like absurd to me. So yeah. 2020.
No, you're absolutely right. That's actually something else that that Soldier Side Chats just covered is man, we really need to like make sure to like put a link down at the bottom to his channel, because he does hit on all of these things that you just said. Like the last video he made is like, why is it that like politics used to be about debates and compromise, and why is it that now just because you're on different sides of the spectrum that like you can't have friends, you know, like liberal people can't have conservative friends, and progressive people can't have liberal friends, and religious people can't have gay friends. And it's like, that's not right. We used to listen to each other and compromise, and that's what's missing, is like we used to give things a chance, and that's what's important. So like instead of somebody saying that like, oh well, like last time, like $15 minimum wage, screw that, like we don't like that, just give it a chance. And if it doesn't work because like automation, then you realize that like, oh wait, we're not going to pay $15 an hour to a machine, and we're not going to pay $15 an hour to, because there's no job anymore that are $15 an hour. So then you're like, oh well, UBI, let's try that. And we should just try these things out. That's why we have 4 terms for a president, or four terms. That's why we have 2 terms, 4 years for a president. That's why we have term limits. That's why we probably should start imposing term limits on judges, like he wants to. Because people used to, the whole thing was George Washington stepped down. He could have been president for life. They would have kept, but no, he's like, no, I'm going to start this trend of the 2-year term. And he stepped down, and then everybody stepped down because they were like, this is the good thing to do. This is right. They still had that like democracy and compromise and all of that in their bag. I mean, they had other problems, but we're just talking about politics and government right now.
Oh, the problems, yeah.
So yeah, like, but at least when it came to who governs, they allowed themselves to step away. So like judges, they wouldn't die being a judge. They would step down before they ever became, terminally ill. And so and that's the idea, is we need to let new. Why is it so difficult for us to try something new? And I don't know when. I guess maybe like I don't know. I don't know when that split happened. Well, was it that like when the hippies tried something new and they had their movement, everybody freaked out? I don't think so. Like I don't think you can blame that movement, because there was when was it really like when we dropped the atomic bomb? Like that's when it all changed, when we were like, oh man, like we tried something new with science here and now we can literally destroy the world. Maybe. But I don't know when that split happened. That we stopped being open-minded to, hey, like maybe this new idea can work.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good question. That's a good like sociology, college question that somebody could do like a research paper on or something.
I'm sure some of you college people out there know. Let us know in the comments below.
Hey, I really should like, oh my god, like I have to start like cutting these into clips. Like this is why we need an editor, like we said, because like I mean I wouldn't mind watching this whole thing, but like I prefer not to. But I should.
If you are an editor and you want to edit our stuff, let us know.
Let us know. We could, like it'd probably be like for free, but we could later on when we get like a constant like stream of donations and stuff, like we could probably pay you. We would love to. But yeah, like right now, like yeah, if you're into that, let us know. Yeah. I'll do it though.
You can even be part of the show. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, literally, like you can jump like any.
We send you a link. You can hop on.
Just like message. Yeah, I don't even need your phone number. Just give me your email, and I'll just send you the link. You have you don't even need to be on camera. You can just do it like just on your microphone. But I like to see people's faces. That's just me personally.
Yeah, me too.
I know, right? But
fun that way. I love the expression.
I know, right? Yeah, it's Yeah, dude. Okay, we should probably get off soon because I know Zoom will like probably kick us off. As I'm surprised it didn't right now, but yeah, I don't
It's like they know we're in the Yang Gang and they know how much business the Yang Gang is giving them right now. Because every single Zoom meeting that we've like last time we went over and it was like we're just gonna extend it, and then I had a meeting just after that, and we were like, oh no, we gotta go, and it was like extended, and we were like, oh never mind, no, we're gonna stay on. Earlier today, the same thing happened. So
that's probably like
I don't know.
there's an algorithm where like okay, it is more beneficial for us to have people stay up there if maybe they hear a lot of voices or maybe they I don't know what the automation thing works, but I'm pretty sure they have like a
Yeah, we don't know the algorithm.
I don't know the algorithm of it, but I'm sure they're like, wait a minute, if we keep them on, they will probably come back and keep using our app. So maybe that's what it is. But yeah, I don't know. Like, this is just more like a free for all thing. Like, we just wanted to like chat because like I'm glad that I recorded the last meeting because it was super fun. And you guys do like liked it on YouTube, so that's like much love to you. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like any other last thoughts. Like, we can still. I mean. Right now, Zoom is not kicking us off, so we can still go on for another 10 or 20 minutes.
No, I gotta actually. So my last thought is, I gotta go to band practice.
Cool.
So I'm always it's difficult, like, because I was always the person pushing people into like, hey, we need to play more, and then as soon as I joined the Yang Gang, because I had to, because we weren't playing as much, and it didn't matter. But now that finally people are like, yes, I want, like, I agree with you. We should play more. And now I'm like, oh, I got these. I got Yang to do, but I'll be there. I'll be there when But the great thing is that every and I guess I'll close it off the same way I started. Every artist that I've talked to so far, when we realize how much more work we can get accomplished with $1,000 a month. That's the beauty of it, is we're not just going to sit on our butts and do nothing. We're going to go out there. We're going to write better songs. We're going to make better videos. We're going to create better content. And, it's an artist's revolution. This is, once again, it's a renaissance, right? Does it feel like that? Does it feel like it's a shift in our mental thinking? Does it feel like we're about to, go to Mars? Does it feel like we're about to change science again and people are going to have electric cars and we're going to have solar? Like, yes, this is the new renaissance, and artists are going to lead the way. And we need to stop with our BS jobs that our employers are basically, they're hijacking us. They're hijacking our time, and they're saying that, like, you are worthless unless you work for us. Well, to those employers, I say I can't wait till people quit those jobs. Because what's going to happen is better employers are going to come out. Yeah, better employers are going to come out, and they're going to give people a chance, and they're going to work with people side by side, and they're not going to abuse their workers because they are going to be that same worker that was shit on, and they're just going to. And then same thing with the landlords. People are worried the rent's going to go up. Nope, you're going to get better landlords because more people are going to have opportunity to be better people. Right now, the people that have all the money are the people that cut corners, went through loopholes, did some shady things. Why can't we think that there's a good politician out there? Why can't we think that there's a good businessman? Because we know they all cut corners. So anyway, now I'm rambling. But yes, artists, we're going to lead the way. We're going to save the world. We're going to make the world a better place. So let's join up. Artists for Yang.
Yeah, guys. Oh my God. I forgot to say this when we were talking about malls. We just like mentioned it briefly, but like I definitely think like I talked to you on the phone, like how in Delaware we actually do have a really successful mall. Maybe partially because of it, there's no sales tax. Like literally, I think that our iTunes store is like one of the most like profitable iTunes stores in America because so many people go. Yeah, like it's always building. Like this mall is like crazy. It's so crowded. I actually hate it sometimes. But the one like best friend that I do have, like we that's what we do. We go to the mall and like we just kind of hang out, go to movies, and, like we just walk around. We're too poor to buy anything, but it's still fun. Like we'll buy food, but still like that. That shit matters. And I'm thinking like what malls evolve into is not just like retail stores. and stuff like that, but it can evolve to like people having like, I'm sure there'll be like meditation areas and like crazy stuff happening in that regard. Not so much okay, buy, sell. I think Gary he's too. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on that. Malls can become like a crazy like hippie place where people go to like.
So next episode, we'll definitely talk about malls. That's going to be a thing because I like where you're going with this, and I want to hear more of that idea because I explained my idea to the Yang Gang when we met up at in Detroit for the first time, and I stayed with Mark and everyone and Nate, and I told them like what malls can become, and they were like, whoa, like, wait a minute. Like, and I was like, yes, I need to talk to someone. I need to either talk to Andrew or Ventures of America because this is how it's going to be. And if you have ideas for how malls can be in the future, I mean, that's the idea is like, how can we get people out of their houses and enjoy life? Because this is great. And I love doing this too. This is how we connect with the world. But I also want to connect with my community just as much.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's it for today. We'll probably be back. We'll probably do our meeting on Monday, but I'll probably post it on Tuesday. So yeah, I hope that's not too long for you guys. Got this like surprise like video, so that's pretty dope. Yeah, I'm gonna thank you so much for talking, like just shooting shit and everything like that.
Yeah, it's been fun as always. I'll see you.
All right. See you guys. See you, dude.